And here we go. Previously in this cave, we had found a tunnel full of water, which I passed through after quite a bit of figuring out how to do that. On the other side, I was able to remove some rocks and a pile of stuff that relieved the tunnel of its water, and then Joel and Jacob, my dad, Bill, and David all were able to make it through the tunnel with just a stream of freezing cold water.
Oh my goodness!
Jacob and Joel led the way as we left the sump, and almost immediately we ran into our first set of naturally occurring sandcastles. This is David coming down the slippery rocks. And there's the first set of sandcastles, which we were really impressed by. It's just fun being in there.
We punched through the sump. I swam through, I relieved the sump on the other side. It was completely destroyed. It was completely clogged. No one would ever get through. So I scuba dived through. And this is what we wanted to get to. These sandcastles, would you look at this? How is this formed, Jacob?
This is formed where drippings from the ceiling drip and carve it into something so unique. For these to be 2 to 3 feet tall, this is very, very lucky that we get to see these this big.
Go ahead, Joel, you're fine. So this is Jacob and Joel, and we are going to the sandcastles area because it's amazing.
We have to climb along the walls of this cave because there's about 4 feet of water in most spots. It is a river or a lake, and that water is around freezing, so you can't really go in it. Otherwise, you're dealing with, well, cold water, hypothermia, freezing hands, discomfort, and you will get uncomfortable right away. Here I am slinking along the walls. It's also hard to get good video along the walls because you are always in danger of falling in the water. You can see I brought a wetsuit. This allows me safer passage. I have dry shoes on. So I can stay dry and comfortable for a longer period of time, but that doesn't mean I can just hang out in the water.
We just got into the backside of this cave, and you can see that there's all these sandcastles back here, and we'll let you see a close-up of them. They're absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it. These are formed over thousands of years. It's just mud. I'm not really sure how it's completely formed, but I do know it's mud and sand, and it's just one drop from the ceiling at a time. One drop at a time. So that's not mud, it's rock.
And here we are making our way along where it's all full of water, and I want to...
So this is lava. But these are just made out of mud. The mud, please. I think.
But check this out. This is completely filled with water. Making our way along here was almost impossible, so it was slow but sure. Making our way along the cave walls. One of the advantages of lava tubes is that the cave walls are not slippery. The rocks are very jagged, and as long as you're careful, you can climb along them pretty well. The problem is if you go in the water here, it's not going to kill you. If you go in the water, you probably have to leave the cave immediately because you're going to be very cold. And so this was our solution.
So these waters are sub-freezing. So we don't want to walk on the sandcastle, so it's through the water, through this river that's, well, it's about 35 degrees, so it's not quite freezing. But I'm waterproof, but that doesn't mean it's warm. So you're leaving some drinking. So we're trying to get back to the back of the cave so we can photograph some of these things, but we don't want to touch them or damage them. Careful, one second. Look at these things. Look at it.
And this was one of the sets of sandcastles that from this distance looks okay, but from close up these are very impressive, very interesting. They're fairly hard. They're like a sand mud mixture. If I stepped on them, they would be smashed. But over thousands of years they have grown, and no one has ever seen these. No one has ever touched these. But here they are, delicate. They're not like regular stalagmites where they're rocks, so you can touch them and look at them. These they're growing on this concrete. I say growing. It was just mud and it's just been eroded. This is erosion starting with real high sand, and the erosion has just brought this down. I'm the first person in the history of the world to touch this, and some of them are really delicate. And the interesting thing is, Jacob, not just that these are so beautiful, but they're only beautiful here. They can never be taken and probably will never be seen by anybody else.
Yeah, because if you pick it up, they'll crumble.
Yeah, they'll crumble.
They'll more like it's like clay, and it's really workable, so it'll bend and pour.
And we had to wade through rivers to get here, and swim through tunnels of water. I did that. I was able to drain the water out, and this is one of those things that is kind of a high-level adventure. It was kind of technical, so I would do the tough parts, then Jake would come through. I had to carry him through the river. Watch this. So I know this isn't like our traditional videos, so some of it I'm just going to let roll, and you can see the sandcastles from close up. We just thought this was super interesting. This is super beautiful and fun to look at, and we were just thrilled to be able to look at these and see how the water had eroded a path, dripped a path. Water drips from the ceiling, sand and rocks drip from the ceiling, and it just one little bit at a time.
Look at this.
Creates these mud castles.
that.
This was my favorite one because there's these little tiny, looks like trees, and
The sand is good.
I mean, I gotta try to take a shot of this. Let me try that.
these shaped like ferrofluid or magnetic liquid.
And this is what they were protecting on the other side of the dam. They built it and backed up water so no one can get through and so no one can destroy these, since these things are thousands of years old. When the cave was created, these were created, and they're still here and they're not touched. They're formed by drippings from the ceiling. Drip, 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 carves all around it, leaving these little pillars of sand.
Sand that forms in such a way. In a regular cave, the rocks, through a chemical process, create stalagmites and stalactites, but these are called speleothems. I thought this looked like the Grand Canyon. I was very impressed by how it looked close up. And you can see the size of these. They are enormous. It's just a big pile of mud that has shaped itself when you get real close into these intricate and elaborate patterns that are really fun to look at. Here we are wrapping up and coming out of the cave, coming out of the sump. Now that there's less water flowing through, you can still see a creek, and that creek is still around freezing, so this is still extremely unpleasant. That gap right there is, a foot or less. There's a knuckle right there that makes that tough to pass through, even when there's not water in it, let alone when there is.
Just, I'm a little bit of a good mood because even though I'd like to, I realize that I don't have to swim back. We can't get still water.
We made the decision to sort of create a bit of a illusion here. So using rocks, I built a doorway, if you will, a dam, a wall, a blockade, just so that most folks who aren't curious enough won't attempt this. This is done to keep people safe, because that's, once you're back in there, there's a little bit more danger. Temperature is the chief danger in these caves, temperature and falling. They're really cold in there, and so we put a few rocks there that, look, I can put them there, I can take them away. If somebody knows that is back there, they can get back there, but I thought the curious onlooker that goes in there, they would probably be better off not trying to get back there. Look at that, perfectly camouflaged, looks like nothing's there. We are done. Jacob's excited. What an adventure. This was fun. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna unbuckle.
Do you want me to kick this thing?
No.
Yeah, close your eyes.
Wait. That's not gonna move. That's
Okay.
like.
I was just testing. I could hit it with a rock, but it's really sharp right there. Okay.
Here, take my helmet. So help me through. Oh.
I'm gonna put your light in it. You want to keep your light. I'm gonna keep the light on you.
Okay.
I can also.
There we go. It's a lot easier without that helmet.
Yep. The headless horseman. That's why I said my gear was what was stopping me up there.
Yeah, you would never get through here. Like I'm.
Do you want me to pull your shoulder up to give you some leverage?
This is stabbing me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you some leverage. Oh yeah, because you're backwards, and so before you had your hand up here.
Yeah.
And that was giving you.
Oh, you're stepping on my finger. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, here, now I can get out.
That good?
Yeah.
And it's a cool angle too. Because before you were gripping up top with the other hand, and that was what kept you from.
Gotta say, one and done with this hole.
Yeah, one and done.
I just caught my belt loop again. I have to go back and forward. Like back to the future.
Yeah, I tried to get through with my wetsuit on. It was a little. This is our gear here.
Okay.
Get on up out of there before my battery dies. It was fun watching you for a couple minutes. That literally took you 5 minutes to exit that hole.
I don't think I can. We're currently on the way up to the cave on the tail of a truck because, what do you call it? There's not enough room to put a truck for all of us. We're having a couple guests come with us. It is my grandpa, Calvin's dad, and he's bringing a friend David. Let's see how this turns out.